Hey everyone, and welcome to this final video on scenes. We've talked a lot about scenes, or mentioned them briefly when looking at some of the other things. Essentially what scenes are they are preset or pre-created lists of settings that you can deploy all at once. It saves you time, it prevents students from wandering off tasks. They're really powerful tools and they're pretty easy to set up. Now the way you get there is you go over here to the menu and you go down to all scenes, and then this menu is going to pop up. Kind of looks like the classroom menu. The difference is instead of adding classrooms, you're going to add a scene. I've already got one here, so let me go ahead and show you what they do, because although there's a lot, that seems to be a lot here, you essentially can do 4 things in scenes. First thing you want to do though is create I'm going to create a different pattern and then name it. And then you can also put a description of what it does for yourself. Now, first thing you can do is you can flip this switch. And there are 4 things you can do between block mode and allow mode. What block mode does is all websites that are blocked, except for the ones you mention, students can't get to. So if I wanted to do a lesson where the only thing I wanted students to be able to look at on their Chromebooks was Google Docs, I would go to Google Docs and copy the website's root into here. And I know that that is docs.google.com. And I'm going to hit add. Now what that does is it essentially says that all the websites in the universe are blocked except for this one right here. Right? You can also allow for a specific part of a website or a specific single web page if you type them here. That's a bit like, you don't need to get into the details, but you can really be specific with what they can and can't get to. So for example, if you wanted them to read a specific article, you could do that here and then block everything else. Now you can also switch it to allow mode. And allow mode allows all websites except the ones listed here. So I want to remove that. And if there was a game like that I know that my students were way into, if I did that, I could block all of that website right there. And so I just blocked games.com to keep my students off of games. So that's one thing you can do, is you can create customized allow or block lists. That's something you can do. You can also go here to this. These are created by GoGuardian. So for example, if you know you're doing Kahoot, you can just hit this and it essentially will allow or block. It'll allow this tool or it'll block the tool depending on what mode you're using, and you can click back and forth between them. But these are specially designed to be things that are used regularly, like Google Docs, for example. That's one. There are a lot of, you can use these as well or remove them. So that's the second thing you can do, is you can use these preset lists. Another thing you can do is you can force certain tabs to open. So like if you wanted your students to come in, sit down, and immediately start reading an article, or immediately start doing a Kahoot, or immediately go to Google Classroom, you could type that in here. And what that means is as soon as you start your session with this scene, that tab would immediately open up in your student's browser, so they wouldn't have to waste time looking around for it or getting lost. And if there's a specific website you're trying to get your students to, that's a really helpful thing. So that's the third thing you can do. And then finally, the fourth thing you can do is you can limit the number of tabs they can open. Generally, if you have students that students get to have this great little method they love where they have like 5 tabs open and the last 3 are like games and the other 2 are what they're actually working on. You can say, nope, you only get 1 tab in my classroom, and it's a lot easier to keep students on task with that tab control button. Once you're done, you just simply hit Save Scene and it pops up here. And then what you do is I'm going to go ahead and start a session. And what I can do is I can go to the Change Scene button, and I can drop this scene in, which means not only can I start off with it, but I can also have it preloaded. So you can change them and you can flip them depending on the type of lesson you're using. So you can curate up a bunch of sources and have them go. I'm going to go ahead and end this. The other thing you can do is even before you start a session, you can go here, and then you can preload it right here, or create a new one even before you start it. So you can start it immediately, or you can start it while you're already in the session. So that's kind of how scenes work. That's a very useful tool as well.